Will be on the general election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally of current Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who is
the mayoral candidate being challenged. The saga surrounding
Tiffany Henyard, the self-styled super mayor of Dalton, has finally turned herself in after a bombshell FBI raid uncovered years of deep-seated corruption. While Henyard was living a life of luxury funded by taxpayer dollars, the town of Dalton was spiraling into financial chaos, with residents struggling to make ends meet. The lavish lifestyle she enjoyed on the backs of hardworking citizens is now crashing down as she faces up to 25 years in prison. Henyard's fall from grace has captured national attention as she now faces 22 federal charges, including misappropriation of public funds and the concealment of millions in taxpayer money. The FBI had been investigating Henyard for months after receiving subpoenas and rumors of corruption. When the evidence was finally gathered, the full scale of her financial mismanagement was exposed. Once hailed as an untouchable figure, Henyard is now being held accountable for her years of wrongdoing. One of the most shocking revelations was her misuse of taxpayer money during a shopping spree in September 2023. She spent over $70,700 at stores like Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair, a spending spree that is almost laughable for someone who was supposed to serve the public interest. But this wasn't an isolated incident. Henyard also made headlines for refusing to fly coach, instead opting for luxury travel experiences complete with a professional hair and makeup team, all paid for by the taxpayers. Meanwhile, the residents of Dalton were left to pick up the eat-o pieces as their town was reeling from a $36 million deficit, a result of her reckless spending. During her time in office, Henyard drained a $5.6 million surplus in just 1 year, and her administration wasted over $112,000 on travel expenses alone. Dalton's already fragile finances were pushed to the brink as her personal spending habits only deepened the crisis. One of the most jaw-dropping examples of this financial waste was the staggering $561,000 payment for the paving of her mother's driveway, a single driveway costing taxpayers $500,000, while the town's resources were disappearing fast. But it wasn't just her personal spending that put Dalton in danger. Henyard's reign of excess also extended to the police force. Instead of using police officers to protect the citizens, they were repurposed as her personal security detail, running errands and following her around like VIPs. Meanwhile, crime in Dalton went unchecked, as officers were distracted by their new duties rather than keeping the community safe. The downfall of Henyard began when a former police chief, who had witnessed the misuse of funds firsthand, could no longer stay silent. The whistleblower exposed the full extent of Henyard's actions, and it didn't take long before the truth came to light. The town's residents, who once trusted Henyard as a leader, now had to face the bitter truth. Their hard-earned money had been squandered for years. As Henyard faces the legal consequences of her corruption, the citizens of Dalton are left to deal with the aftermath. Their trust in her was shattered. They must now rebuild a town that was nearly destroyed by her actions. The once bustling town hall now stands as a vacant, locked building, a grim symbol of Henyard's greed and deceit. To make matters even worse, Henyard spent an additional $36,000 on sound systems, staff, equipment, comedians, and even bouncy houses, costing $6,600 for an event that only drew about 70 people. This blatant misuse of taxpayer money has ignited growing outrage among the residents, with Jennifer Roberts, a concerned citizen, voicing her frustration over such extravagant spending. Former trustee Valeria Stubbs condemned the event as a wasteful self-promotion scheme. Henyard's apparent disregard for fiscal responsibility has deepened the public's mistrust, with both taxpayers and federal investigators now closely monitoring her every move. However, the real twist in the story came when Henyard's former ally and ex-right-hand woman, Carmen Carlisle, stepped forward with damning evidence. Carlisle, who had witnessed firsthand what she described as Henyard's misuse of Dalton funds over a period of 2 years, became the key whistleblower. After initially staying silent, Carlisle handed over a stack of receipts to federal authorities, exposing the mayor's schemes and financial mismanagement. Carlisle's testimony has been a bombshell, shedding light on Henyard's alleged efforts to promote herself at the public's expense. Her revelations have only intensified public outrage, as critics like Stubbs emphasize the stark contrast between Henyard's lavish spending and the dismal turnout at community events. The public's frustration continues to grow, with many demanding justice for the residents of Dalton who have suffered as the town's finances collapsed under Henyard's administration. Despite the mounting criticism, Henyard has shown no signs of slowing down, a defiance that many believe will only fuel the ongoing scandal. The FBI, now bolstered by Carlisle's first-hand account, has placed Henyard squarely in the spotlight, scrutinizing every aspect of her administration, from her extravagant lifestyle funded by taxpayer dollars to her lavish trips and personal security detail that often resembled the entourage of a Hollywood celebrity. The investigation has also expanded to include her financial dealings, campaign finances, and commercial ventures. A web of connections involving Henyard and her political allies is being thoroughly examined, with authorities investigating everyone who may have played a role in the alleged corruption. For years, the people of Dalton have demanded transparency and answers about the unexplained expenses and questionable decisions made by their mayor. And it seems their calls are finally being heard. As the investigation unfolds, it is clear that Henyard's time in office may soon come to a dramatic and scandalous end. With both legal and public scrutiny closing in, the residents of Dalton are left to deal with the aftermath of the mayor's actions and the full extent of her alleged financial mismanagement, which may soon come to light with far-reaching consequences for her and those connected to her controversial administration. Activists like Brittany Norwood have been vocal in their criticism of Henyard, amplifying the frustration of residents who have watched their town suffer under her rule. For these residents, the FBI's intervention feels like a long overdue response to their desperate cries for help. However, many are left wondering why justice has been so slow to arrive, despite the mounting evidence and growing public outrage. Throughout the investigation, Henyard has continued to maintain an image of business as usual, carrying out her mayoral duties despite the mounting pressure and scrutiny. This defiance has only fueled public anger, as residents see her as increasingly disconnected from the harsh realities of their struggles. Meanwhile, the FBI has reportedly been using advanced surveillance techniques to track potential wrongdoing not only by Henyard, but also by her political allies. As the investigation deepens, rumors have surfaced that several others with ties to Henyard may soon face similar scrutiny. The scale of the FBI's probe has sent shockwaves through Dalton, with residents who have long watched their town teeter on the brink of financial collapse, now grappling with the very real possibility that many of the people they once trusted may have been complicit in this web of corruption. Then, in a surreal twist, Henyard stunned the town when she voluntarily turned herself in to the FBI. This unexpected move marked a significant shift in the investigation and further captivated public attention, with some speculating that her decision to surrender may have been influenced by the mounting pressure and growing evidence against her. As the legal process unfolds, Dalton and its residents now face an uncertain future, with the repercussions of Henyard's actions continuing to reverberate throughout the town. Tiffany Henyard's fall from grace has shocked the town of Dalton, where she once seemed invincible. Known for her glamorous persona and lavish lifestyle, Henyard appeared unaffected by the growing storm of controversy surrounding her. But just when it seemed she might escape the consequences of her actions, Henyard made a dramatic move. She voluntarily surrendered to federal authorities. The abruptness of her decision stunned Dalton residents, leaving them to speculate about her motives. Why would Henyard, who had clung to her opulent lifestyle for so long, suddenly abandon it and step into federal custody? Many believe Henyard's surrender may be part of a calculated strategy to strike a deal with federal prosecutors. Some speculate that she could be offering to expose other individuals involved in her alleged schemes in exchange for leniency. If true, this marks a dramatic shift in the scandal, as Henyard, once seen as untouchable, now faces the very real possibility of legal consequences. Her decision to surrender has not only marked a turning point for her, but also signaled a shift in the relationship between Dalton's residents and their local government. Henyard's once untouchable image has been shattered, and her voluntary surrender has given the public a glimmer of hope that, at least for now, there may be some semblance of justice on the horizon. As Henyard faces federal charges, the fallout from her actions continues to reverberate throughout Dalton. The town, already in a financial crisis, must now contend with the staggering costs of its alleged corruption and the deepening distrust in its leadership. Henyard's corruption will take much longer to heal as federal investigators continue their work. The residents of Dalton can only wait and hope that those responsible for the scandal will be held accountable, and that the town can begin the difficult process of restoring its financial stability and trust in local leadership. Henyard's downfall is far from over, but for the people of Dalton, the mere possibility of justice, however delayed, brings a glimmer of hope amidst the wreckage of their community. The rise and fall of Tiffany Henyard is not just a local scandal. It is an unfolding story with far-reaching consequences. Federal authorities are piecing together the full extent of the alleged corruption, and as more details emerge, it's becoming evident that this investigation will continue to expose the depth of the town's financial mismanagement. With Carmen Carlisle's testimony and other crucial evidence, the web of corruption that once seemed impenetrable is beginning to unravel. The people of Dalton are left hoping that justice will finally be served, and that they can rebuild from the wreckage left by Henyard's reckless spending and self-serving behavior. In the end, the Henyard scandal serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of holding public officials accountable. The people of Dalton have paid a heavy price for Henyard's actions, but her downfall may ultimately pave the way for a brighter, more transparent future for the town. Only time will tell whether the scandal will spark the changes needed to restore faith in Dalton's government, or if it will simply become another painful chapter in the town's troubled history. Henyard's fall from grace has become a powerful symbol of corruption, manipulation, and the devastating consequences of unchecked power. Once a figure of wealth and authority, Henyard lived a life of luxury, traveling in first-class comfort, enjoying personal makeup artists, and indulging in a lifestyle funded by taxpayer money. Now, she finds herself in the cold, stark environment of a jail cell. Her once glamorous image is shattered, her finances are in ruins, and her future is uncertain. Reports have surfaced that Henyard can no longer afford to pay her legal bills, leading her lawyer to abandon her case. Her rise to power, clouded by controversy, was driven by a web of influence and financial mismanagement that didn't happen overnight. Over the years, Henyard allegedly used her position not to serve the people who elected her, but to benefit herself, all while the needs of the community went unmet. As more evidence continues to emerge of her abuse of public funds and opaque financial dealings within her administration, the residents of Dalton are left to reckon with the lasting damage caused by her alleged actions. Her eventual surrender to authorities, while providing a glimmer of accountability, marks only the beginning of a long road to restore trust and rebuild the town left in tatters. Henyard's history of financial recklessness and self-serving decisions has led to a significant erosion of Dalton's finances. Reports indicate that the town is now nearly $20 million in debt, with millions of dollars missing and unaccounted for. As the financial crisis deepened under Henyard's rule, residents became desperate. In a dramatic move to salvage the town, Dalton hired former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot at a hefty rate of $400 per hour to clean up the mess Henyard had created. This unprecedented step underscores the dire nature of the situation, highlighting the monumental task of recovering from the financial disaster Henyard's administration left behind. The once thriving community of Dalton is now reeling from years of corruption, and the people are left to pick up the pieces of their fractured government and broken economy. As the investigation into Henyard's actions continues, the town is left wondering how long it will take to rebuild its reputation and restore its financial health. The residents who once placed their trust in Henyard now face the harsh reality of her betrayal, grappling with the consequences of her greed and misuse of public funds. In this time of uncertainty, the people of Dalton are left searching for answers, hoping that the truth will come to light and that those responsible for the town's downfall will be held accountable. The Henyard scandal may have shattered the town's faith in its leadership, but it also presents an opportunity for change. The investigation and potential for further revelations might finally offer the residents the justice they've long sought, along with the chance to rebuild a community devastated by corruption. Henyard's downfall may be the beginning of a long and painful recovery for Dalton, but it also offers the chance for the town to heal, rebuild, and restore the integrity of its government. As federal authorities continue to follow the trail of evidence, the people of Dalton are left to wonder if their town can ever recover from the damage caused by one woman's reckless pursuit of power, or if the consequences of her actions will linger for years to come. The fate of Dalton and the future of its leadership remain uncertain, but one thing is clear. Henyard's scandal has left an indelible mark on the town, one that will likely take years to erase. The state of Dalton's finances paints a grim picture and highlights just how far the town had fallen under Henyard's leadership. Among her most egregious acts was a reported spending of $440,000 in a single day on Amazon, a symbol of her unchecked financial mismanagement that has now placed Dalton under both federal and state scrutiny. As the town's financial situation spiraled out of control, the Illinois State Comptroller had no choice but to intervene, halting desperately needed payments of $135,000 to the town's residents. This was a crippling blow that left the people struggling to see a way forward, even after Henyard's resignation and subsequent surrender to federal authorities. The financial ruin she left behind continues to cast a long shadow over Dalton, making it clear that recovery will not be swift. But the damage did not end with financial destruction. Former employees of Henyard's administration have come forward with their own damning allegations, including lawsuits claiming wrongful termination for refusing to participate in dubious schemes. One such employee, identified as Bont Trish, is now suing Henyard, further compounding the legal and ethical challenges she faces. These lawsuits are not only the result of Henyard's financial scandals, they also stem from her abusive leadership style, which created a toxic and oppressive environment for those working under her. Beyond financial mismanagement, Henyard's administration has been tainted by disturbing allegations of sexual impropriety. During city visits, including claims of sexual assault against staff members and accusations of intimidation against those who dared to oppose her. These revelations have completely decimated her previously polished image, replacing it with a portrait of an administration steeped in corruption, abuse of power, and exploitation. The public's outrage only deepens as these new allegations come to light, leaving Dalton residents shaken and disgusted by the woman they once trusted to lead them. For the people of Dalton, seeing Henyard in handcuffs has been a moment of relief. It represents a step toward reclaiming their town from what many have referred to as an era of doom. However, Henyard's surrender has raised as many questions as it has answered. Many speculate that her decision to turn herself in may be part of a larger strategy, perhaps an attempt to manipulate the system in her favor. Some believe she may be negotiating for a settlement, or even trying to shield others involved in her schemes. Her continued presence as mayor, despite the mounting criminal charges against her, has raised serious concerns about the integrity of the legal system and the power dynamics at play. The fact that Henyard remained in office, despite overwhelming evidence against her, suggests that the fight for accountability is far from over. Her defiance and apparent unwillingness to relinquish her position as mayor have only fueled suspicions that she might be attempting to stall justice, using her power to delay the inevitable reckoning. As the FBI continues its investigation, it remains unclear when this saga will finally reach its conclusion. However, what's certain is that Henyard's actions have set in motion a series of events that may lead to a new chapter for Dalton. One where the town can begin to heal and rebuild, free from the shadow of corruption and betrayal that once held it captive. Whether Henyard's voluntary surrender will lead to the full exposure of the corruption that plagued her administration remains to be seen. In the meantime, the residents of Dalton are left grappling with the fallout from years of financial mismanagement, abuse of power, and exploitation. The road to recovery for Dalton will be long and difficult, with many questions still unanswered. As Henyard faces federal charges, the town watches closely, hoping that the legal system will finally hold her accountable for her actions. The saga of Henyard's fall from grace continues to unfold, and the people of Dalton are left wondering whether the town can ever fully recover from the damage she caused, or if the shadows of her leadership will continue to haunt them for years to come. With each new revelation, the story grows even more chilling, exposing the depths of Henyard's alleged corruption and the toll it has taken on the town she was supposed to serve.